Hello, I'm Han, and this is the homework explanation for homework question number 7, homework 7. And for this question right here, we are given that ZT is equal to this thing. And we are also given that zeta is uniformly distributed from 0 to 2 pi. And N1T and N2T are WSS, or wide sense stationary. Remember that in the lecture where we discussed wide stationary, we have this very handy. So this is the property that comes with this, so it will help us solve this problem. And also these N1T, N2T, and theta are all independent. So for the first question, we are asked to find the expected value of ZT. This thing is pretty easy to solve. For solving the expected value of ZT, you just plug in the ZT's equation into here and solve that. Which my solution here, this is for the question number 1, plug in that equation here and do some separation. We have originally the whole expected value, which can be divided into 2 expected values, and then furthermore divided to 4 expected values. Because this is multiplication, that's very obvious. And then to solve this, basically En1T is just N1, which is, like, according to what we had here, is a constant. So we plug in a constant here. And for also for N2 is the same as a constant. What we're left is this equation. Well, you can do the integration thing, integrate from 2 pi to 0, but we all know that it's a cosine function and sine function, which is a periodic function, and their integration, which is trying to calculate the entire space that the waveform that interact with the x-axis. What's above the x-axis is positive, below are negative. These two are periodic, and they are exactly 2 pi periodic. So basically, that means we don't even have to do any calculation. We know that is 0. Anything that has 2 pi periodic is not really anything, but cosine and sine function have 2 pi periodic, and in the 2 pi region, it's always going to be equal to 0. So here we have the 0, and here we have another 0. We eventually get 0. So for part A, that's how we solve it. For part B, let's see what we are to find RZ T1 T2, and we're asked if ZT is WSS. Well, so how to solve it is basically just use the equation from the class. RZ T1 T2 is E expected value of T1 times ZT2, and plug in the old equation here. Here we have this. We know that here is always already a constant, and constant inside the expected value, outside the expected value doesn't matter. So I'll just put it in. The N2 was also put in over here, N1 and N2, and the rest of the thing stays the same. And by doing multiplication, here's the plus, and here is one part, here's the next second part. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 objects. And we do the multiplication of that. It's basically just this times this, plus this times this, plus this times this, plus this times this. So we get the whole function over here. However, that according to what we have, what the definition we have for wide sense stationary process, we have this. So we can, instead of writing N1 N1, we can write Rn1 tau. And for n2 n2, because this n1 times n1 get this, n2 times n2 get this. So this one becomes Rn tau. And for the rest of them, is n1 times n2 and n2 times n1 remains the same, and it's right over here. And after that, we can start calculating the entire thing. And which, for this part and this part, it's really familiar to us. It's right here. We had that integration over this part, and integration over this part is equal to 0. So for the rest of the things, it's just like this. And yeah, do the integration, everything that's required to do, and we have this function, and it's equal to RZ tau. So basically, it means that it is WSS. Yes, because we have the solution here. This thing equal to this thing. And finally, we're supposed to find RZ0 if ZT is WSS, which we find that in the previous question is true. RZ0 is here. Let's see where, yeah. So plug everything in. RZ0 we had over here is just 1/2 of this thing. Instead of having tau, we have 0. And the cosine WC tau, we have a 0 here. Cosine anything 0 is just 1. So we don't have to worry anything about it. So we have this, and further doing the definition is this function, but the tau is 0, so it's just xt or x0, and here, and not really x0, but the tau is 0, so it's n1t squared plus n2t squared. So here this becomes this, and everything, that's everything we need to do to solve this question.